What if I told you that your morning coffee could cost you $8 by August? Or that chocolate bars might hit $5 each? Look, I know it sounds crazy, but 6 everyday grocery items are about to become luxury goods, and most people have no idea what's coming. I've been tracking commodity prices and supply chain data for months, and honestly, what I discovered scared me. We're not talking about small price bumps here. We're talking about items that could literally become too expensive for average families. Number 1. Coffee. Let's talk about coffee. Not just your morning pick-me-up, but a product that's quietly becoming one of the most unpredictable items in the grocery aisle. Now, you might be thinking, I can live without coffee if things get tough. And maybe you can. But let's be honest, morale is a crucial part of survival. And when you're dealing with stress, discomfort, or even long-term uncertainty, that one comforting ritual of a hot cup in the morning, it's priceless. Here's the shocking part. Coffee is on the brink of becoming a luxury item, and not just because of inflation. Over the last 2 years, Latin America, particularly Brazil, Colombia, and Vietnam, has suffered catastrophic droughts and crop failures. Brazil, which supplies over a third of the world's coffee, saw its worst drought in almost a century, slashing production by up to 30% in some regions. Add to that rampant wildfires, unpredictable rainfall, and skyrocketing fertilizer costs, and you've got the perfect storm for rising prices and shrinking supply. But it gets worse. Just a few months ago, it was announced that the U.S. will impose a 50% tariff on Brazilian coffee imports starting August 1st, 2025. Think about that. A product already in short supply, now being taxed into oblivion before it even hits American shelves. Wholesale prices have already doubled in early 2025, and some premium roasts in stores are creeping toward $20 per bag. That's not gourmet, that's panic pricing. And guess what? The hoarders have already started. Coffee forums, Reddit threads, even prepping groups are buzzing about bulk buying beans and vacuum sealing them before the end of July. And they're not wrong. If you wait until August, you might be paying double, or worse, staring at empty shelves with nothing but regret. So what can you do? Stock up now. Buy whole beans if you can, vacuum seal them in small batches, and store them in a cool, dark place. Not only will that preserve flavor and shelf life, but you'll thank yourself when that warm cup is more than a habit. It's a piece of sanity. Number 2. Chocolate cocoa. Okay, here's where things get really scary. You know that bag of chocolate chips you throw in your cart without thinking? The ones that used to cost maybe $3? A woman in March posted a TikTok that went viral, over 130,000 views, because she found Toll House chocolate chips for $7. 7. She was literally standing in the grocery store aisle, playing that Glorilla song, just staring at the price tag in shock. The comments were insane. People saying they'd rather give up baking than pay that much. And honestly, that's just the beginning of this nightmare. Because right now, as we speak, the entire chocolate industry is collapsing. And I'm not being dramatic here. This is actually happening in real time. See, there's this place called West Africa. You probably never think about it when you're eating a Snickers bar. But Ghana and Ivory Coast produce 70% of the world's cocoa. 70%. These two tiny countries basically control whether you get to have chocolate or not. And right now, they're literally turning into a wasteland. Picture this. You're a farmer in Ghana. Your grandfather grew cocoa. Your father grew cocoa. You've been growing cocoa your entire life. These trees, they're like family. It takes a whole year for one cocoa tree to produce enough beans for just 2 chocolate bars. 1 year, 2 bars. Think about that next time you grab a Snickers. But here's what's happening to these farmers right now. The worst drought in over 20 years is destroying everything. We're talking about farmers who've been growing cocoa for generations, watching their entire life's work just die. In Ghana alone, production crashed from over 1 million tons to less than half that in just one season. That's like half the world's chocolate supply just vanishing. But wait, it gets so much worse. Remember those crazy storms and floods you saw on the news hitting Africa? Yeah, Those hit right after the drought. So first, the plants are dying from no water. Then they get completely flooded. And guess what thrives in wet, humid conditions after plants are already stressed and dying? Disease. Something called black pod disease, sounds like a horror movie, right? Has been wiping out whatever crops survived. It's this fungal infection that literally rots the cocoa pods from the inside out. Farmers are finding their trees covered in these black, rotting pods that look like something out of a zombie apocalypse. And there's basically nothing they can do to stop it. Here's what's really crazy, though. Climate change has added 40 extra days per year where temperatures are too hot for cocoa trees to survive. 40 days. These trees need specific conditions. Not too hot, not too cold. Just the right amount of rain. Just the right amount of shade. But now the weather is so unpredictable that farmers don't even know when to plant anymore. And get this, some farmers are literally selling their land to gold mining companies because they can't make money growing cocoa anymore. So not only are we losing cocoa farms, but the land is being destroyed by mining, so we can never grow cocoa there again. It's like watching an entire industry commit suicide. Cocoa prices have exploded 316% in 3 years. 316%. To put that in perspective, if your rent went up 316%, you'd be homeless. If gas went up 316%, you'd be walking everywhere. But somehow we're all just supposed to accept that chocolate is becoming a luxury item? And companies like Nestlé, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Just last month, June 23rd to be exact, Nestlé officially raised prices on Toll House chocolate chips, baking cocoa, all of it. Their internal memo said they've exhausted all efforts to offset these costs. Translation: this isn't temporary anymore. This is the new reality. Hershey's announced double-digit price increases just last week. Double-digit. That means if you're paying $4 for a chocolate bar now, you could be paying $5 or $6 soon. Lindt hiked prices 15% this year, and they're planning another round in 2026. Even Nestlé India reported a 12% profit drop because they literally can't keep up with cocoa costs. And here's what really pisses me off. While families are struggling to afford chocolate for their kids, these companies are making record profits in other areas. Nestlé's confectionery sales went up 8.5% in the first half of 2025 alone because they're charging us more for less product. It's shrinkflation on steroids. But here's the kicker that'll really blow your mind. Climate experts are saying West Africa could lose 50% of its cocoa growing land by 2050. 50%! That's only 25 years from now. Your kids might literally ask you, what was chocolate like? The same way you might ask your grandparents about things that don't exist anymore. And it's not just Africa. Climate change is making it impossible to grow cocoa in traditional areas, so production might have to move to places like Nigeria and Cameroon. But guess what? Those countries still have rainforests that would have to be completely destroyed to make room for cocoa farms. So we're basically choosing between chocolate and saving the planet. Think about what this really means for your family. No more affordable Halloween candy. No more chocolate chip cookies unless you want to spend $20 on ingredients. No more hot chocolate on cold mornings. Your kids' birthday parties are about to get a lot more expensive. And if you're someone who stress eats chocolate during tough times, well, you're about to get a lot more stressed because you won't be able to afford your coping mechanism. So if you're thinking about baking cookies for the holidays, or you've got kids who love chocolate milk, or you just want to have some chocolate in your house that doesn't cost more than your electricity bill, you might want to stock up right now. Today. This weekend. Because by August, when those tariffs fully kick in and the next harvest reports come out, we're going to see prices that'll make that $7 bag of chocolate chips look like a bargain. And trust me, you don't want to be the parent explaining to your kid why they can't have chocolate cake for their birthday because it costs $50 to make. Number 3. Citrus fruits, orange juice. Okay, brace yourself for this one. Florida just ended the 2024 to 2025 growing season with the lowest orange production in over a century. We're talking 12 million boxes when they used to produce 240 million. That's not a typo. We've lost 92% of Florida's orange production in just 20 years. But here's what nobody's talking about. There's this silent killer called citrus greening disease that's been systematically destroying every single orange grove in Florida since 2005. And get this, there's no cure. None. Zero. This bacterial infection, spread by tiny Asian bugs, basically starves the trees to death. The oranges turn green, taste bitter, and the trees just die. You know how your grandma always had that big glass of orange juice at breakfast? Well, Tropicana, the brand that basically built that tradition, is literally on the verge of bankruptcy right now. Just this January, one of Florida's biggest growers, Alico, threw in the towel after 100 years and said, "We're done." They're firing 172 employees and walking away from citrus forever. And just when you think it can't get worse, Hurricane Milton slammed through in October 2024 and destroyed what was left of the groves that were already dying from disease. We're not just talking about a bad year. This is the complete collapse of an entire industry that once defined Florida. So what does this mean for your wallet? The price of orange juice concentrate has already jumped from $2.73 in 2014 to $4.48 today. But here's the kicker. Tropicana already had to shrink their bottles from 52 ounces down to 46 ounces just to avoid raising prices even more. And they're still charging $3.29 for less juice than Minute Maid gives you for $2.29. But by the end of July 2025, experts are predicting non-alcoholic beverages, including orange juice, will spike by 3.4% just this year alone. And honestly, that feels optimistic when you realize we're watching the death of an entire industry in real time. The crazy part. Most Americans under 30 don't even remember when orange juice was considered essential at breakfast. Maybe that's for the best, because by August, a glass of real Florida orange juice might cost more than your coffee. Number 4, bananas. Now, bananas. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Come on, bananas? Really? But guys, let me tell you a story that'll completely change how you look at that yellow fruit in your kitchen. Picture this. It's 2001, and the CEO of Trader Joe's, Dan Bain, is walking through his store when he notices this sweet elderly woman browsing the bananas, but not buying any. So he walks up to her and asks, "Ma'am, I saw you looking at the bananas, but you didn't put anything in your cart." And she looks at him with these tired eyes and says, "Sonny, I may not live to that 4th banana." That moment hit him like a truck. The next day, Trader Joe's started selling bananas individually for 19 cents each. And you know what? They kept that price for over 20 years. Through 9/11s, through the 2008 financial crisis, through COVID, 19 cents never budged. But guess what happened in March of this year? For the first time in 2 decades, they had to raise the price to 23 cents. That's a 21% increase overnight. And honestly, that was just the beginning of this nightmare. See, here's what most people don't realize. We're sitting on a banana time bomb that's about to explode. We import every single banana we eat. Every single one. America produces less than 1% of the world's bananas, and nearly 40% of what we eat comes from one tiny country, Guatemala. One country. And Trump just slapped a 10% tariff on everything from Guatemala. You literally cannot replace Guatemala overnight. You can't just plant banana trees in Iowa and hope for the best, you know? Randy Arsenault runs Affiliated Foods in Texas. This guy supplies 700 independent grocery stores across 8 states, and his distributor called him up last week with some brutal news. They're raising banana prices by 10% immediately because of these tariffs. We're talking about an extra 4 cents per case, from $1.80 to $1.84. Now, 4 cents doesn't sound like much, but when you're buying bananas for your family every week, that adds up to about $20 extra per year just for bananas. Multiply that by every imported food item, and you're looking at hundreds of dollars in extra grocery costs. But wait, it gets so much worse. Climate change is literally killing banana plants in Guatemala right now, and the footage coming out of these farms is heartbreaking. I found this quote from a banana grower named Aurelia that made my stomach drop. The banana crops are dying off, the trees are folding down and dying. In the past, it was predicted that this would happen in the future, but it has come earlier. This is very worrying for our children and especially our grandchildren. These farmers are watching generations of work just disappear. Bananas need temperatures between 15 to 35 degrees Celsius to survive, but they're incredibly sensitive to water shortages and storms. And guess what's happening more frequently? Extreme weather that shreds the leaves and makes it impossible for the plants to photosynthesize. And there's this fungal disease spreading that sounds like something straight out of a zombie apocalypse. It's called Tropical Race 4, or TR4. This thing is absolutely terrifying because once it hits the soil, you can never grow bananas there again. Ever. The soil becomes permanently contaminated. It's already wiped out entire plantations in Colombia and Peru, and it's spreading fast. The scariest part? Almost all bananas come from the same genetic family. They're basically clones, so they have zero genetic diversity to fight this disease. It's like if every human on Earth had the exact same immune system and a new virus showed up. Scientists are calling it the next Panama disease crisis. See, back in the 1950s, there was this banana variety called Big Mike that dominated the market until Panama disease wiped it out completely. That's when we switched to Cavendish bananas, the ones we eat today. But now TR4 is coming for Cavendish, and there's no backup plan. No other variety waiting in the wings. When this disease hits a farm, farmers literally have to abandon the land and find somewhere else to grow. Meanwhile, we've got supply shortages hitting us from every direction. Costa Rica, Colombia, Nicaragua, Honduras, Ecuador. Basically, every place that grows bananas is reporting lower supplies this year compared to last year. Juan Alarcon from Fief's North America, one of the biggest banana companies, put it perfectly. Extreme weather events like droughts, floods, and cold fronts can significantly impact production and disrupt supply chains. La Niña weather patterns have been absolutely devastating, with unusually cold temperatures destroying crops across Central America. Some regions have lost up to 600 hectares of banana farms just in recent months because farmers can't afford to keep operating. Here's the thing that really gets me: the ports. Remember those port strikes on the East Coast? They completely disrupted banana shipments because bananas can't be stockpiled like other goods. They spoil in days. So when ships can't dock, those bananas just rot on the boats. It's not like coffee beans that can sit in a warehouse for months. And with ongoing labor shortages at ports and transportation hubs, this problem isn't going away anytime soon. Look, if Trader Joe's, the company that literally bragged about never raising banana prices and put bananas in their product hall of fame, if they had to cave and break a 20-year promise to customers, that should terrify you. These are the same people who kept their $1.50 hot dog combo at Costco through thick and thin. When companies like this start raising prices, you know the situation is desperate. Target's CEO, Brian Cornell, just told CNBC that customers will see banana price increases over the next couple of days because they rely heavily on Mexican produce during winter months. And with 25% tariffs on Mexico now in effect, those costs are getting passed directly to you and me. Some experts are predicting that by the end of July, when all these tariffs fully kick in and the climate damage gets worse, we could be looking at $1 per banana. $1 for one banana. So when you see bananas for 66 cents a pound right now at the grocery store, don't complain about the price. Stock up if you can, because this yellow fruit that we've completely taken for granted our entire lives is about to become a luxury item that most families can't afford to buy regularly. Number 5. Spices. Vanilla. Okay, so you think baking is expensive now? Laughs darkly. Just wait until you hear what's about to happen to vanilla and cooking oils. Picture this. You walk into the grocery store next month to grab some vanilla extract for your kid's birthday cake, and pauses for effect. The tiny little bottle that used to cost you maybe $4, it's now $12. And that's if you can even find it. Here's what most people don't know. Madagascar produces 80% of the world's vanilla, and it just got slammed with a 47% tariff. We're talking about the second most expensive spice in the world getting hit with almost a 50% tax increase overnight. But here's where it gets really crazy. As one spice industry expert put it, and I love this quote, "Vanilla is something that America needs, and people in Madagascar are not buying Teslas, so you're not going to balance that one out." Chuckles. Basically, we need their vanilla way more than they need our stuff. And guess what happened the moment these tariffs were announced? Exporters saw a surge in rushed orders from American buyers. Everyone's basically panic buying vanilla like it's toilet paper during lockdown. Now, palm oil? You might think, I don't use palm oil. Oh, but you do. Trust me, you do. It's in your cookies, your crackers, your peanut butter, your shampoo, your soap. Literally everything. The U.S. imports most of its palm oil supply from Indonesia, which now faces a 32% tariff. Here's the thing that's keeping me up at night. Indonesia has already banned palm oil exports before, when their own cooking oil prices doubled from $1 to $1.50 per liter, and that sent countries like India and China scrambling for alternatives. What happens when these new tariffs make it even more expensive? You know what the really scary part is? 4 major companies control nearly half of Indonesia's cooking oil market, and they've been caught stockpiling supplies in warehouses while regular people can't find cooking oil on store shelves. It's like a real-life food mafia situation. So picture this scenario. You're trying to bake literally anything. Cookies, cakes, muffins, and vanilla extract costs more than a bottle of wine. Your cooking oil has tripled in price. Even the spices you need for basic seasoning are becoming luxury items. I'm not trying to scare you, but honestly, the math is terrifying. We're looking at baking becoming something only wealthy families can afford to do regularly. That Sunday morning pancake tradition with your kids, the holiday cookie baking, it might all become too expensive for average families. The craziest part? Industry insiders are saying the vanilla market is actually oversupplied right now, with abundant global stocks. But these tariffs are artificially creating scarcity and driving up prices anyway. It's like having a warehouse full of water during a drought, but making it too expensive for people to buy. Number 6. Meat protein. Okay, number 6 is going to absolutely blow your mind, and honestly, it's the one that keeps me up at night. We're talking about meat and protein, you know, the stuff that's literally been the center of American dinners since forever. But what's happening right now is so insane. It's like watching the foundation of our food system crumble in real time. So here's the bomb that just dropped, and I'm not even exaggerating. Ground beef basic everyday hamburger meat just hit $6.12 a pound in June. That's a 12% jump from last year alone. But here's the real kicker that made my jaw drop. Steaks are now averaging $11.49 per pound. $11.49. When's the last time you paid almost $12 for a single pound of steak? That's more than minimum wage in some states. But wait, because it gets so much worse, it's almost unbelievable. The U.S. cattle herd is at its smallest size since 1951. Let that sink in for a hot second. We're talking about post-World War II levels here. We literally have fewer cows roaming around America today than when your grandparents were probably dating and Eisenhower was president. We're talking about 86.7 million cattle total, which sounds like a lot until you realize we had over 94 million just 6 years ago. That's like losing the entire population of New York City in cows. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how did we get here? Well, buckle up, because there are literally 3 catastrophes happening all at the same time, creating this perfect storm that's about to make your grocery bill look like a car payment. First catastrophe, feed costs are going absolutely ballistic. And here's something most people don't think about. A single cow eats between 2 to 4% of its body weight every single day. That's like 20 to 40 pounds of feed daily for a typical cow. Multiply that by millions of cattle, and you're talking about an astronomical amount of grain. Now, remember those tariffs we talked about earlier? Well, guess what cows eat? Corn. Lots and lots of corn. When corn prices spike because of trade wars and tariffs, it's not just the ranchers feeling the pain, it's a domino effect that ends up in your shopping cart. But here's the really messed up part. Drought has been hammering cattle country for years now. Pastures that used to be lush and green are now brown wastelands. Ranchers are having to buy hay at record prices. We're talking about $300 a ton when it used to be $150. Some ranchers are literally going bankrupt just trying to keep their cattle fed. And then, I kid you not, there's this thing straight out of a nightmare called the New World screwworm fly that just showed up in Mexico. I know it sounds like something from a B-grade horror flick, but this is 100% real. These flies lay their eggs in any open wound on warm-blooded animals. And when those eggs hatch, the larvae literally eat the animals alive from the inside out. We're not talking about a quick death here. These maggots feed on living tissue and body fluids. It's absolutely horrifying. Mexican authorities have already had to slaughter over 4,000 cattle to try to contain this outbreak. If this thing crosses the border into Texas, and experts say it's not a matter of if, but when we could see massive livestock losses that would make today's cattle shortage look like a picnic. The last time this happened in the US, it cost billions of dollars and took decades to eradicate. Second catastrophe hitting right now, and this one's a doozy. We're facing a labor shortage in meat processing plants that's so severe, it's like trying to run a hospital with half the doctors missing. Companies like Cargill literally have hundreds of job openings they can't fill across their 40-plus plants. Think about the absurdity of this situation. You've got cattle ready for processing, sitting there literally ready to become your dinner, but there aren't enough human beings to actually turn them into the steaks and burgers you want to buy. And here's what's really wild, these aren't minimum wage jobs anymore. Processing plants are offering $22 an hour, which is up from $14 just a few years ago. That's a 57% wage increase. Some places are even offering signing bonuses, free health care, and companies like Tyson are literally paying for their workers' college tuition just to keep them from quitting. JBS is doing the same thing. When major corporations start paying for college just to keep people on the assembly line, you know something's seriously wrong. The immigration crackdowns are absolutely decimating these plants. Nearly 2/3 of meat processors say labor is their biggest operational challenge this year. Not equipment, not regulations, not even money people. Some plants are running at 80% capacity simply because they don't have enough hands to keep the processing lines moving at full speed. It's like having a Ferrari, but only being able to drive it in first gear. And the third disaster, supply chain vulnerabilities that are about to hit like a freight train. The U.S. imports over 4 billion pounds of beef every year. That's not a typo. Billion with a B. Most of that comes from Brazil, Australia, Canada, and Mexico. Well, guess what? Tariffs on Brazilian beef are about to skyrocket to 50%. 50%? That's like paying $15 for a $10 steak before you even get to the grocery store markup. But here's the really crazy part about these imports. We're not just bringing in premium steaks. Most of what we import is lean beef trimmings that get mixed with our fattier domestic beef to make your ground chuck and hamburger meat. Without those imports, your burger might literally cease to exist as you know it. So what can you do right now? Stock up on non-perishables, find local suppliers, maybe start that herb garden you've been thinking about. Because by August 1st, when these tariffs fully kick in, you're gonna wish you'd listened to this video. If this opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to know. What grocery item are you most worried about? Let me know in the comment.